Hello and welcome to another very exciting show. Today we have a guest who is also a friend who has been in Bayonne for quite a few years. Started out in Jersey City, same as me. We lived not too far away from each other.
Nope, same neighborhood.
Didn't even know. We'd like to welcome Gina Irrizzary.
Hi, thank you, Diane.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
For letting me be here.
Gina wears many hats, and she's here to update us on what she's up to now. But before we talk about the present and Bayonne today, tomorrow, a while ago, Gina, if you remember, was the owner of Through the Looking Glass photography studio. Now, for people that might not remember it, tell us a little bit about it.
I opened the studio in 1993, and I ran it on Broadway as a storefront business till about 2002.
Okay. And
Primarily, I was a portraiture and fashion photographer specializing in children.
okay, so the children, we met through my children who were Ford models at
Right.
the time, and Gina was working at Nobart Studios.
Nobart Studios in Chelsea, in Manhattan.
Okay.
This was probably back in 1985.
Wow.
And I remember Diane coming in with her kids. I was the fashion assistant to the fashion photographer at the time. His name was Carl Herron. And Diane, her kids were booked there frequently. Didn't know that she was from my neighborhood. I didn't make the connection until she told me her maiden name was Jarmolinsky, and then I remembered. Oh wow, I can't believe it. So you know, small world, very small world. The kids were working a lot, and I was working as an assistant. It was probably my second production company that I had worked for.
So your fashion background really it was more or less what your passion was at that time?
Yeah, when I studied photography, I was in the commercial art major, where we learned still life and fashion, advertising, but I always had a love for fashion. So most of my senior thesis was all fashion. So of course, when I was ready to look for an internship, I directed my sight towards some of the production companies in New York that
In
had,
Manhattan.
and the first one I worked for was Vogue Right Studios.
I remember them.
I was doing off-figure fashion. I was shooting clothing, not on the model, and then wanted to get more into, you know, real fashion. Vogue Right gave me a little bit of a start. I was shooting some Girl Scout pages for JCPenney.
Girl Scouts?
I was doing Girl Scout pages.
Wow.
And then bras and panties.
Okay.
And then some menswear. And then there was an opening at a brother company, Nobart Studios, for a fashion assistant, and I went over there.
Now, I know we're almost jumping the gun because one of the most important things that I think we should bring out is how Gina became interested in art and in photography, and I think you credited a teacher?
I did.
Okay. Tell us how that happened
which
because
is-
it's interesting.
Okay.
What grade were you in?
I was in 7th grade,
Okay.
and I was a good student, but I loved to draw. I loved to build and create things, but I never felt that I was really that talented at art. And then I remember we had to do a project in 7th grade. We had to recreate the other side of a portrait, and we were asked to bring in a magazine photograph. And this was the year that Billie Jean King beat, what was his name? Oh my
Well, she
goodness.
beat him, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, God, it'll come to me. Anyway, Bobby Rigby.
Okay.
So I had sliced his face in half. He was on the cover of the Time magazine, and I had to draw the other part. And I just remember the teacher making a really big deal about it and bringing it to my mom and showing her and saying, you know, your daughter's really talented. She should pursue a career in the arts. And I think I was kind of hooked at that point, because I felt, you know, the confidence in me, and I started to pursue drawing more.
It's so interesting
Portraits.
when you see what sparks the interest of a child. I mean, in education,
Yeah.
the importance of encouraging a talent that maybe even the family might not have recognized. Though you did say your
Absolutely.
mom was a painter?
My mom was a painter hobbyist. I mean, she entered shows. She was a painting enthusiast. She liked to do still life, oils, acrylics, some portraiture. So there was always art in my house. My house always smelled like turpentine and linseed oil.
Oh,
I remember
really?
that. And she would encourage me to sit with her and paint, and I really have fond memories of those times
That
with
really-
my mom. So we really bonded and connected on that level.
Mm-hmm.
But
And-
getting back to speaking about a teacher's influence, absolutely I credit that teacher for having chosen that lesson plan for the day.
Uh-huh.
And as you know, Diane knows, I am a teacher at this moment. I'm a full-time teacher. I'm still a photographer. My 9-to-5 job is teaching, and one of the things that I really love to see is the light in the eyes of a student when something that you give them clicks, when
Yep.
you offer them some positive reflection on some of their work and what they do with that.
So it's almost as though you're mirroring the same thing that happened to you so many years ago.
I would say that that's some of my inspiration, is some of the positive influence from that teacher, other teachers in general.
Mm-hmm. And what you're teaching now at Kenmare?
I teach at Kenmare High School, which is an alternative high school for women.
Okay.
It's part of a larger organization called the York Street Project, and York Street is downtown Jersey City. We have several entities. We have a women's shelter, a family shelter. We have a women's residency for single unwed mothers. We have Kenmare High School, which is the alternative high school. Some of the women that come to our high school live in the residencies, and some of them come from all over New Jersey. We have some from New York. But they are there to get a high school degree, not a GED. They have a rigorous trimester, 3 trimesters, which is about 18 months to complete their high school diploma. They have to come in with some high school behind them, some high school background, and they have to be 17.
Okay.
So they have to be mature.
So that obviously is your full-time job. And
That's my full-time day job.
Okay.
I teach English literature.
Okay.
I teach 4 different courses. One is called Female Voices. It's literature all written by or for women.
Okay.
Um,
So it's kind of an empowerment
It's
kind
an
of
yeah,
environment that
it
you're
is. I also teach a class called Edible English, which is literature and non-fictional text that's all centered around food and nutrition.
in. Oh, that's cool.
And I added a little element to it this year, how women view their bodies, weight issues, things like that. I also teach psychology and literature,
Okay.
which is a cross connection between the founding fathers in behavioral psychology and interpreting literature using what we know from those psychologists.
So much of what you're doing now, we've had some discussions about photography, about the power of a picture and the power of looking back in your family album and remembering Uncle Louie when he ate the turkey drumstick at the table, and the aunt that used to be there and her hair was always bouffanted up in the 1960s, and you know, we were discussing the power of photography
And what it brings out.
and what brings out the spirit of a person, which I have to say, I feel you're remarkable in what you do. I mean, you've done all of my husband's
Thank you.
headshots.
Thanks.
The miracle of lighting is one of Gina's
Yeah.
specialties, and lighting as you get older. I mean, children are easy. As you get older, lighting becomes very important.
It is. I don't like to be photographed by anybody unless I light it myself.
Okay.
I'm really picky about that.
And now, now your eye is a trained eye.
Yeah.
When it comes to lighting, expand on
Yeah,
that a
I mean,
little.
I have a 4-year education in art and photography. I actually have a degree, a Bachelor of Arts degree in commercial photography. So a program like that, unlike a certification program that's maybe 18 months or so, it's much more extensive. I've taken courses in lighting, classical lighting,
Oh, really?
lighting for different means, lighting for advertising, lighting for still life, lighting for nature.
Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important would you say lighting is when it comes to photography?
It's extremely important. It's extremely important because you can change the whole
Look and feel.
the whole look and feel and emotion of a photograph if it's lit in different ways.
Okay.
And one of the things, some of the lessons that we used to do, were to light one object in many different ways and look at the different types of feelings you get from the object.
Now, some of the photographs that we have here today, I believe, are a reflection of your history in photography, some of which date back to...
Some of them, they're archival pictures, and I brought them for a reason because Diane and I were speaking about this before. They are a reflection of a trained photographer in the area of lighting. I wanted to make, some comments about, okay, here's one that's up right now. That, you can see that, and I always try to add my fashion style and background to my portraiture photographs when I open my business, because when you open a business, you want your work to set itself off from other people's. It's just good business.
Now here we're jumping a little bit to the present, because I know that Gina
these are current pictures.
Gina is the photographer for the Golden Door Film Festival in Jersey City.
Yeah, I'm the photographer in residence for the film festival. The film festival is an event. It's in its 4th year. It's held every fall. It's run by the Sorvino family. Paul Sorvino, the actor, his nephew, his nephew's wife Michelle, and his sister-in-law Roberta. Now, if you go back to the other
as we flip to these pictures, that was a chef.
These are very, very special pictures to me, even with all the current things I'm doing. If you go back to the chef a little bit, I wanted to talk a few minutes about that. When I had first opened my business, it was a little bit before Father's Day, and I wanted to have a good gimmick to bring customers in. So I offered a Father's Day promotion. On the left is a mailman and his daughter. That's Kevin Glade and his daughter Jessica. So
Daddy came in as who he is?
He's a Bayonne mailman, and I wanted to grab...
Oh, that's lovely.
The dads as they were, what they did all day, and in a moment with their children.
That's reflective of the Wonder Years in one of the episodes when they say they never knew what their dad did. I remember that episode. It was hysterical. But here,
funny.
Here you have a history of what your dad did and how old you were at that point in time.
And I know Kevin's wife, Michelle, Jesse's mom, absolutely loves that picture for that reason.
It's a beautiful
it's
picture.
I know the kids love it.
And a great idea.
Thank you. And of course there's the chef with the little girl, and he brought all of his baking paraphernalia with him. And
that's adorable.
We were just trying to have fun with her. She was a little bit of a tough subject and wouldn't smile, but she was so cute.
Aww.
And we decided, well, why don't we put the pot on her head, the bowl on her head, and see what she does. And she just made the cutest little face.
And that worked.
I just snapped away.
Okay. Well, the photographs themselves say so much about the style of photography that you do have.
Yep. The lighting in both of them are very different.
Okay.
In the chef photograph, that's more like a Rembrandt side lighting. There's a nice little full off shadow to one side. It's very open on the other side. It creates a lot of depth.
Yes.
It's a very simple lighting. I don't see too many people using it too much today that are shooting digitally, but it's a very classic, good lighting.
Yes.
And it can be very flattering, especially for a man, to enhance, their bone structure. Men are more chiseled
anatomy
than women. It's
yes,
nice.
Different.
And then the other photograph is a more open, fun kind of a lighting. And when you do an animated picture like the other one with it's okay. this was just having fun with this little guy, trying different kinds of angles, shooting from way above. You can see the shot on the left. I was up on a ladder. I'm shooting down.
Oh, okay.
The shot on the floor, I was down at his level.
Looks 1920s-ish.
He was infatuated with this old camera that I had, and he was very, very active. And the only way I could get him
to concentrate
was to do this. It wasn't what the parent planned. She wanted something, a more formal picture of him sitting, but it worked out so well that they absolutely loved it, and I loved it, and that's why it's part of my archives. It's one of my favorite. His grandmother was from Italy, and she made this little knit outfit for him.
Really?
And just the texture, if you see the photograph up close with the lighting, that you can see, actually feel like you can feel the cables in his sweater.
So much of what we're looking at it's not just a photograph. I mean, it's taking that child's life at that particular time and the story that's connected to it, in regards to what he had on and what his behavior was like the day that he showed up.
Personality.
Yeah. But I mean, you'd have to really know how to handle a child and an event, because you only have one opportunity to capture that shot.
And that was him. And this one really captures this little angel. I love this little baby.
Girl.
She was just so sweet, and I took her to Hudson County Park. We wanted to do something kind of ethereal looking, angelic. We weren't sure where you were. Add a little nature to it, and
so that was Hudson County Park.
Yep. And these photographs, by the way, are all film. They're all hand processed, black and white. That's an actual hand colored sepia tone with using Marshall oils, which is like painting. It's basically you're painting on the paper, on the actual photo paper, which is a matte surface.
So I mean, we're looking at a picture that was taken in Bayonne, which of course is always a focus that I like to bring up. You know, being a person from Bayonne, in Bayonne, you know, looking at Bayonne through new eyes and seeing the possibilities of the beauty we have around us is something that I feel you've captured with those photographs.
Yeah, and I would say that was my outdoor studio, which was one of the wonderful things about having the studio here in town.
And now I also remember when you had the studio, I'll never forget, we had our store, Renard Boutique, across the street.
That's right, yeah.
Catty
we were
corner.
neighbors. Yep.
And one Halloween, you had the best idea in the world. And tell everybody what it was.
I think it was my first Halloween in my newer space, because I started out in a very tiny
corner where
affordable space.
Okay,
yeah,
so
here we go. Where rented it to me.
Where McCabe now has their school there.
Yep.
That's right on the corner opposite where the original Hidalgo's
41st and Broadway
used to be. Yep. So that was your first studio. Now I was in that studio during the hometown fair.
That was 800 square feet.
Okay.
You basically walk in the door and you're stepping on the set.
Yep.
So that was a challenge. And then as I was able to afford a bigger space, I moved into a 1,200 foot, no, I'm sorry, it was 3,000 square feet. It was huge.
Yep.
And yeah, a lot of the other photographs, like the chef picture, was done there.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had just moved into the new space, and it was the beginning of the fall, and we, again, wanted to entice people in, so I built a set with
haystack. You had the bales of hay.
Bales of hay and pumpkins, and I think we used a brown seamless paper, and it was very simple. I think I had silhouettes of witches and moons. And skeletons and things.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Diane came in dressed as Marilyn Monroe, and her husband Keith came in as Dracula.
Exaccula.
I'll never forget that.
Exacula, and it's one of the best pictures that we have.
And I just shot Polaroids, basically that day.
Yes.
Right? We did Polaroids.
Yes.
And
well, that's for us. It's a fond memory because we pull those pictures out every Halloween, looking back on how much fun everyone had.
I just put a couple of them on Facebook.
Oh, you did. So that's another thing to talk about. Facebook. So on Facebook, do you have a page?
I do.
Okay, you do.
I have a link to my page. It's called Through the Looking Glass, and you have to go on my personal page to get it.
Okay.
I'm in the process of putting together a website. I don't have a website at this moment because my business is forever changing. So once it's a little more pulled together. But yes, you can go to Gina Irrizzary and you will see a link for Through the Looking Glass.
Okay.
Just click on it and you go right to my page.
Okay, and what type of photography are you now?
It takes
I know you do
all the
weddings
current-
too.
I do some weddings. I don't really call myself a wedding photographer. It depends on the location and what the client has in mind. If I feel it fits my style, I will do it. But right now, although I don't have a studio, I'm still as much a photographer as I always was. I just put it in another place and I directed it in other areas. What I like to do, and you'll see like with Golden Door, is I do a lot of event photography.
Oh, you do?
I do a lot of fundraisers. I do things for York Street Project. I've done stuff for Dress for Success, various groups. Headshots. I still do headshots.
Okay.
That's something that just word of mouth, I seem to get a lot of calls. I have a couple of brand new ones on there. And I am still doing some fashion.
Okay.
So although I don't have a home studio, I will find space to do it. I rent space. There
So
is
when the
space
need
available.
arises,
When the
you
need
you find
yeah.
a way.
There's a couple of pieces on here on the white background that's a designer, and her clothing is amazing. And I had shot a whole day's worth of work that she's going to use for, I believe it's probably the Jacob Javits children's show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, at the convention hall. Now let's talk a little bit about your family. You're married.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm married to Louis, who is also
A photographer.
professional photographer,
Yes.
who was the primary in-house photographer for Tiffany and Company
Yes,
in New York for
I
about
remember
10
that.
years.
Okay.
His specialty is jewelry. So
He specializes in
works,
photography.
yeah. In
Well, I
many
like jewelry
objects.
too, but not like that.
Yep.
Cool. And your sons, both of your sons, are they both of them in the arts?
I have two boys. One is 24, and he's a film and media studies student, graduating in about 2 weeks. And my younger son is a graphic design major
Okay.
at the City University of New York.
So having been surrounded by this all throughout their lives, I guess it influenced them as well. So you've
There
kind
was
of
always art and
passed-
photography in the house.
Yeah.
We never pushed it. They just gravitated towards artistic venues. I don't know why. I'd never really, I not that I didn't encourage it. I'm certainly happy about it, but that's just in their blood, I guess.
Now I also remember that they were very involved in sports as well
My younger son.
in town.
Yeah.
Okay.
My younger son's a baseball player,
Okay.
and he is playing for the City University of New York, the City College.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yes. He's
Okay.
right-hand pitcher and outfielder.
So as we're looking into the future, okay, Bayonne today, Bayonne tomorrow, I'm wondering, you have lots of plates spinning in the air. Is there something that you think you might want to
I don't know, Diane.
next?
I don't ever think about that.
know?
If opportunities land at my door and
Okay.
it looks like something that interests me, I usually try it.
Okay.
I'm kind of a risk taker. I don't ever think too much about where I'll be in a couple of years. I have done so many different things besides my first love, and I don't dislike them any less, if that makes any sense.
Okay. So you're a
That's just
work
the
in
way I am.
progress. We'll
I'm
say
a work
that.
in progress. As far as photography, I'll always be shooting. I don't know which direction. I mean, it's taken me in so many different directions, but I do have some other plans, I guess.
Well, I think we might need another show if you open up, and we probably need a bigger stage too, because you brought so many of your beautiful pieces. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
And letting everyone know that no matter what age you are, no matter what path you find yourself on in life, you'd be surprised at what you can accomplish.
Never think of age.
Never think of age.
I never think of it. I will be 90 and I'll still be experimenting with different ideas and still shooting.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
And the women that
so-
you're helping and the women that you're teaching and your involvement in the school system is really important too, because women
them. They're
need
great.
need
Yeah.
encouragement, especially at that point. And I think you have an exciting future ahead of you. And together, I don't know, we possibly could look at Bayonne in
Well,
a
we always discuss different ideas, you and I. We always have some sort of the same wavelength going on with different things.
and with town itself.
Well, Bayonne is a great town. A lot of exciting people here. I've met a lot of different artists and business people that I've connected with and networked with.
Are you seeing an expansion on the arts in
I
town?
definitely do. Yeah,
You're feeling
there
it?
is a big art movement going on. Years ago, when we first moved back here from New York, there was a little brief moment.
WISA?
And yeah, we support the arts, and we were on that
Yes.
committee together, I think. Didn't really get off the ground, but it seems like there is another big movement. There's a lot of people moving in from all over.
You're noticing that.
I'm noticing that. There's galleries opening up and shows going on. And
Is it anything you ever thought would happen here, or are you
I
surprised?
was hopeful that it would happen.
Okay.
I was a little disappointed that it took this long, but you know, in hindsight, it doesn't really matter. Maybe it wasn't the right time. So,
Well, I mean, all we have
I mean,
is
I'd like to be involved with the development of this city if I can, add my talents and experience in whatever way I can. I'm an educator. I'm a business person. I'm an artist. So is my husband. We collaborate on a lot of ideas often.
Well, the
so-
funny thing about growing older is that, I mean, the levels of maturity and the knowledge is not something that can be taught. It has to be experienced.
Yeah.
Having had businesses together, we understand when the time came when the business was no longer viable, you needed to move into a new direction.
Exactly.
And the
Exactly.
direction that we're moving into is, I think we're going to be surprised by it wherever it takes us.
I think so.
But we're happy that you came,
Thank you.
and
I'm
we
happy
look
this
forward
was
to
great.
seeing more of your stuff in galleries, or give Gina a call, and she'd love to light you up so that you. How many years can you take off?
Oh my God! Well, between good lighting and Photoshop.
Okay, a Photoshop.
Wow.
Okay.
I mean, really, what can I say?
well,
we,
it
we
is-
can recreate as
Okay.
much as you want.
All right. Well,
you don't need that, Diane.
okay. Well, we'll be looking forward to that. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for coming, and
Thank you
see
so
you
much.
again. And if you have any ideas for Bayonne today, DianeBrennan1216@gmail.com. Send me your ideas, and who knows, maybe you can be sitting right next to me, and we can chat about Bayonne. Take care.